Welcome and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the 2024 Youth Sailing World Championships here at glorious Lake Garda. I'm Jon Emmett and I'm joined by Lily.
Hello everyone, I'm Lily Shilija from China, three-time Olympian in the one-person dinghy Ilka 6.
So once again, it was an early start today for some. In fact, some of the competitions are already over. So for those sailors who are watching the live stream, hope you've had a memorable experience. Please do share the feed with your friends. It's good just to get the content out there to everybody so they can enjoy. Comments welcome. And now let's go to the previous action.
Welcome to day 4. After some tricky winds yesterday, this morning was straight into action with the men's and women's windsurfers. An AM early start saw them finish a few races, with the Italian continuing their domination in both men and women youth IQ foil. After the usual way and switch from the paddle to the oral wing, the lake was packed with the female sailors. Two-person dinghy, the Greek pair has secured the trophy with 2 races to spare.
We had a really good start, so then it was really easy to be first at the first mark. We did the basics actually, and then when the Oscar flag was up, it was really good for us because we're really good at rocking the boat and rolling. So yeah, it was an easy win, and we really enjoyed it.
After several female skips came only 1 point to each other, this was a pivotal day for them to perform well. It was Poland, Switzerland and the Finnish take respective race wings.
Feeling very good, happy to be presenting Finland in the Youth Worlds. Really tough winds, like I'm already dead from that, but yeah, super happy about it. Well, not a special tactic, but really fast. Boat speed is the main thing, to be honest. We have really good speed and lots of wind.
In the end, it was the Polish proved consistency is the key, coming out on top of the rankings before the final day. That's it for an exciting day here in Lake Garda. Stay tuned for the final day tomorrow, where we will be crowned 11 Youth World Champions in 2024.
Well, yesterday was a really exciting day, and it's worth saying we don't only have the over 400 sailors and 11 events competing individually. There is actually a nation's trophy going on. I think the points are pretty complicated, and it's between France and Italy at the moment, so we'll know that result by the end of the day. Today was again a very early start for some sailors, so let's catch up with today's races.
So we started in a bad position, but we felt quite fast today.
As you can see from that stunning footage this morning, the racing was done in the northerly breeze and the backdrop just absolutely amazing. As the sun came out, the wind died, and as if by magic, the switch flicked. And we're now in the southerly breeze and we're here for the kites. They've already got one race underway, so let's see if we can have a quick look at that. So this is the first race, and it's just super exciting to see the speeds that these guys are going to be going. It's the fastest sport, not only fastest event in sailing, but the fastest sport at the Summer Games. So when we talk about time on distance, these guys are amazing. That line, it looks more at start time, that line looked straighter than the Ilkas with less line sag. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, but there are some speed difference, though at the start we see more or less at the same time, but after some distance we could see, oh, the leaders probably gradually become extended their distance, and then we could see some kiteboarders tacked to port.
And what's really interesting to see is it's exactly the same tactics as we're looking at with the dinghies, just everything happening a lot faster. And I'm so grateful that we have ISP drones now that can keep up with these guys. People to watch for, obviously those in the bibs, that's giving their overnight positioning, and the yellow bib in both the men's and women's fleet, that's the Brazilian and Argentine respectively, they have commanding leads, and it's a young person sport. If we look at the Olympic Games, you'll probably see that the kites have got the youngest average age.
Yeah, and in this men's kiteboarding fleet there are 16 boards.
What would you say, 16 riders?
Riders, yeah.
Although we're all sailors, it's something I feel very strongly about. And if you look at some, for example, from the 49er or NACRA fleet, they've come from kiting and both ways. But the racing, it's so fast and furious. The race finishes before we've even started.
It looks like the yellow jersey.
So this is the start of race 2, and just like any race, the start is super important, but the speeds mean you're not only thinking one step, you're thinking 2 steps ahead, because when you start a tack or jibe, you're going to come out at a completely different pace. These guys are now full power, but they're actually getting out in maybe 5-6 knots of breeze. When we were at The Hague for the World Championships last year, the kites were the class that probably could compete over the largest wind range because they weren't affected in the light winds and strong current. And that's one of the beautiful things about Lake Garda, no current, which makes it much easier to get out to the race course or back from the race course if the current was against you. But it's a good lead here from the Swiss board. We've got Brazil in second place, followed by France, and the numbers here we see the distance in meters may look large compared to the single and double-handed dinghies, but if you think about the speed they're going, pretty much everyone in excess of 20 knots, there's not a lot of space between them in terms of time.
Yeah, so the overnight leader Lucas from Brazil missed a medal in the last year at the Youth Worlds, and now today, going into today's racing, he only needs another 2 good races to secure this gold.
Well, it's looking pretty good so far, don't you think?
Yeah,
Lily?
in the recap, in the last race, I sort of saw that the yellow jersey, which is the Brazilian guy who finished first, so only need another good race, then he will be crowned Youth World Champion for 2024.
So do you think that will affect the tactics, just start near arrivals and slightly more conservative approach? Because what you really don't want is to end up having swim or a tangle, because that can be race ending.
So this is the Swiss giant, only 16 years old. Before today's racing, actually, the gap between Brazil and Switzerland is very close. They only have 2 points gap. And then age 16, this is the second Youth Worlds
I mean, obviously, all the people here are under 19. It is by definition the best young sailors in the world. I hear there's maybe one or two exceptions where they're actually at the Olympic Games in Marseille doing their final preparation. But the people we see here and now, they're the people we're likely to be seeing at future Olympic Games. And the equipment, this is the perfect stepping stone.
Yeah, the leading rider now is from Switzerland, Zurich, Jan. I wonder how to properly pronounce his name. He started kiteboarding at the age of 9 and then switched to foiling at 10. Sounds a very similar story to Max Mader. Maybe he started a little bit earlier at 6 and then changed to foiling at 10. Well, they're all super young.
I remember seeing the video of Max Mader when he was just 12 years old.
Well,
he looks
it's
a bit different.
Completely different. So that makes the foiling, once they change to foiling, they all need to put on a lot of more weight in muscle, not in fat. So looking at the data, the Zurich Jan is actually 186 centimeter tall and 89 kilogram.
And at the moment, he was doing nearly 30 knots, and that squat position, that permanent squat position, means you must have legs like tree trunks, because that's not easy. They're short races. That's a really good branding there for the fly surfer, right on the camera lens. And the physical side of it, they make it look very easy, but it's definitely not. And just thinking now tactically about the wind, they're actually going faster than the wind speed, so completely opposite of the men's and women's one-person dinghy. They have to be looking in front all the time. But when we look at the mark roundings, these things, it's exactly the same. They're choosing the favoured gate. They're doing a very wide entry if they possibly can, so they can have a tight exit round the mark. And it just looks beautiful. At the Olympic Games, you're going to be sat here watching the commentary, waiting to see the country letters go around that mark, because right up to top mark, it's always hard to tell who's going to be first.
Yeah, so this is race 16. Slightly different rules compared with the other classes. The kite boiler, they can discard one race from if they finish 4 to 6 races, and discard 2 races if they finish 7 to 10. Once more than 11, they can discard 3 races. So that's why this is a crucial race for the Brazilian, whether he can finish his job or his task with 2 races to spare.
So at the moment, with over 100 metres lead from the French, I think he's probably looking pretty safe, but they need absolute 100% focus until the finish. How was the discard situation compared to the dinghies?
The dinghies from race 2 to 5, you can discard 1, and then more than 8, you can discard 2. And for the windsurfing, that's another story, because once they finished 13 races, they can discard 3 as well.
So I think we're going to have to get our calculators out at some point and work out if the IQ foils, whether the competition is actually decided or not. It'll be really close for them as well. But we're back to the live action here. And anyone who thinks sailing isn't a sport, as opposed to it being a hobby, just look at these guys permanently squatting down, just taking as much power as they can. And for the Olympic Games, they're actually going to be reducing the kite size very slightly by a couple of metres for both the men's and women's. That's the maximum kite size they'll be sailing with. So I believe that's 23 going to 21 for the men and 21 going to 19 for the women. But I do need a class expert to correct me on that. If you're watching live, which I hope you are, comments always welcome. We can't necessarily read them out now as we're following the racing, but we will look back in replay.
If Switzerland wins this race, I think the battle will carry on, because Switzerland and Brazil will each won a race for today and then another one to go.
I mean, it's sailing competition. It's a consistency sport, and I think with the IQ foil women, I think gold is already secured, because it's always better to do things sooner rather than later. You never know what's going to happen. So now it looks like the fleet is fairly well spread out. and the sailors will be looking to stay in phase. So it's going to look a little like dominoes as they progress upwind and downwind. They're going to be tacking on the shifts, but the angle difference they have, because they're so fast, it's perhaps harder to read than other classes.
The target time for the kite foiling is 12 minutes, whereas the time limit is 24. So even if 4 races, it's actually equals 1 dinghy race.
Yes. Well, in the bad old days, Lily, we used to have 90-minute races wearing weight jackets, and then they originally tried to limit the amount of weight you could put in your weight jacket, so people ended up having 8 kilograms of water and wearing speedos and bare feet. That was not much fun if it was 10 degrees. So I'm glad we don't have weight jackets anymore, that's for sure. But back to the action. It's just amazing to look at the technique they have here. So the board is very much kept to windward, driving that foil when it looks very much like, for example, a moth sailing dilly. But all the trimming is done with the weight balance with the feet, and it's just amazing to think this is such a technical sport. So if you're a beginner sailor in your Optimist, your Topper, your Ilka, your 420, you can go sailing and you might do it in difficulty. Just launching the kite, it could be quite a difficult experience for a complete beginner. Having said that, people who come from a sailing background will undoubtedly pick it up much quicker. And I can't believe it, Lily, that's nearly the end of another race. So Swiss boat, or no, what should I say, Swiss board looks like just cruising now, and just so relaxed at nearly 30 knots, and the equipment is getting faster and faster. I was talking to the legendary IQ foil coach Aaron, who's I think done 3 consecutive gold medals with the Dutch team's windsurf, and he said you've just got to enjoy the fear, like being scared. And I was checking to Mirko, and he actually suggested there's just a switch in a sailor's brain which makes them enjoy going above 30 knots.
Yeah. So after this race, actually, the gap of the points between Brazil and Switzerland is reduced to 2. So the game is still going on. And for the kite foilers, it's quite common looking at their results. They have some big points because they
let's look at the rank on screen.
Yeah, Jon Emmett from Switzerland winning race 16, followed by Brazilian Lucas, and then sitting in the 3rd in this race is Now from France.
I did a little interview with the Chinese rider, which you may well have seen. There was a bit of a reel made out of it, and what you probably don't realise, I'm not the tallest man in the world, but I had to stand on a step to talk to him, or I would have got neck ache. So here comes the replay. Once again, very much about the start. Just easy to pick out that yellow and blue bib. It looks like most of them have got the same kite.
Yeah, for the rider, for the kite foiler, they have 3 different sizes of kites to choose from. According to the wind, they have smaller one, middle one, and larger one.
I was just seeing there was one kite that looked to be a slightly different colour. I was trying to work out whether there was a significance for that. We will be looking at the female kites at some point. They actually have fewer riders because unfortunately there was some gear issues, but the fly surfer kite, we can see it here. It's not only they're going over 20 miles an hour. If you imagine if they're coming on a collision course, that's a closing speed of 40 knots. That's like cars meeting. But that really looks like hard work, and at the same time they need to have their head out of the board looking for that pressure, because for them pressure is still super important. Last 20 seconds we're going into the women's, so I think there's just the 6 riders now. Unfortunately a couple had to drop out, and I would say though the numbers here look low, behind this there is a whole new generation coming, and they're getting up speed to be going racing, and it often goes in cycles, and I think the new equipment is going to make the sport even more accessible. Now the Argentina kite, which is leftmost of screen, that's the yellow bib currently leading overall. Is it possible to have a little look at the maths there, Lily?
Yeah, actually before racing today, all the overall standings for the top 3 girls are already decided. So Maria from Argentina, when I saw her profile on Instagram, she already put Youth World Champion onto it.
Well, if you're watching, if friends and family are watching now, congratulations. Obviously, she's not watching; she's on the water. But I mean, just from this angle, you can see that she's slightly higher and slightly faster. And actually, just boat speed makes you a tactical genius.
Yeah.
If you're going faster than your rivals, you can literally sail the same course, and you'll know you're guaranteed to have a good position.
Yeah, and then getting the second overall is Xiao Mengjing from China.
I'm really glad you said that, Dave. It's very difficult for a Westerner.
Oh, and then third overall is Darren from Turkey. Actually, she's the World Youth Champion last year, and then the step she's making up is actually one at a time. So she first participated the Youth Worlds in 2021 in Oman, got a 4th overall, and then the next year in 2022, the Youth Worlds in The Hague, she got a bronze medal, and then 2023 winning the Youth Worlds in Brazil last year.
And I'm sure it's nice for the South
Another
Americans.
exciting information about this Turkish daring is after this event, after the day, he will fly straight to Marseille for Paris 2024. She got the last minute qualification earlier in April this year.
Well, best of luck. It was the last chance regatta. Argentina making it look simple and effectively covering the rivals. It's very hard to overtake someone if you're following them. You can actually see the wind on the water. We're starting to get a few white horses, but the rate of travel is just absolutely immense. They're going at over 20 knots, and I think we must be already thinking about the next manoeuvre. So just watch how smooth the sailors are. I think probably this situation, just minimising the number of manoeuvres. Kite goes up, Guadi goes round, and off again. Why did the top sailors just make everything look so easy?
Thinking about all the thousands and hundreds of hours they put in behind the scene.
And now we go for the bear away, and you see there's just a little bit of board pumping.
Yeah.
So just making the foil work to keep the height, and just out of shot already. That is absolutely amazing. And because of this speed, that's why you get such a huge distance building up. But like, for example, the 2-person skiff, 2-person mixed multi-hull, I would effectively expect a jibe hoist, a jibe at the mark, just to get back, or rather stay in that area of more pressure. It's coming up to 2:30. It's 2:15 local time now, and this is when we expect the wind to continue to increase. Later afternoon we may get a little bit more patchy sailing, so it's so good to be able to join the kites. I was a bit concerned the other day we were going to do the whole event and not catch up with them, but it looks really commanding lead now for Argentina.
She's also the European under-19 champion as well as South American champion. She won a silver medal in the Pan American Games. I think it was last year.
And now absolutely flying. I reckon that meter rib is at full speed. We've had this down in Weymouth with the number of foilers coming up. We find that the charty fleet, we probably need to upgrade our ribs because of the number of people foiling. But you just see that characteristic. It's like doing a squat or a Romanian squat all the time, because you're just trying to take as much power as you can. And I think some days the kite foil is going to be just really important. They're routinely going over 28. I'd like to see a 30. I don't know if we hit that today. That just sounds super impressive. And when you compare that to the speed of some of the other classes, it's amazing that our sport encompasses so much. And you think about professional sailing, things like the Sail GP, the America's Cup, being used to this high speed, that must surely help their transition. But looking now, look, you could see the wind line on the water, where on one half of the course there's just more breeze. More breeze means you're going to be going faster, and effectively all the sailors are going to just try and stay in that half of the racetrack, aren't they?
Looking at their posture, I wonder whether it will be quite hard work for their lower back, their core as well. Because as an outsider, I thought they must use a lot of upper body strength, but actually they're using, like us hiking, they're using a lot of the lower body, their thigh muscle to kick or hold that board on the water. The force is amazing.
Well, it's almost like a push, like you're permanently pushing through the feet. And I would say, as a top tip to anyone, any sport of sailing, you do need a really strong core, and you can do that in a variety of ways. And I think there's a lot more sports science, but you cannot have too strong a core. Personally, I think things like Pilates, etc., are really, really good practice, because you want to be strong and flexible, because it makes the boat handling manoeuvres so much easier. And if you're coming off the water and you have a large amount of soreness, or worse still, pain, so pain is if you ever have a sort of stabbing feeling in your back or arthritis or whatever, that is telling you that you need to do something about it. But Argentina just opening up a little bit of a lead from the chasing pack, but China is very close. And these two will be neck and neck, but they're comfortable enough. It feels like it's a bit of a 3-horse race.
Yeah. Earlier when I was chatting to Maria and asking her what's her plan like today, since she's already crowned as the champion, she said just take every single opportunity, every single race to keep learning, keep performing, and keep accumulating experience, because obviously her goal is closely aiming at the next games in 28 Los Angeles.
And I mean, yeah, you just can't get too much time on the water as long as it's quality time. And I think one of the key things when people come and they say, John, I'm thinking about going full-time sailing, and actually the answer needs to be that they just really want to go on the water every single day. Because if you don't have that, after 18 months, the honeymoon period's over and you're going to struggle. It's not coincidence that people just do well in things they enjoy because they're happy to put the time on. So this is somebody who's obviously enjoying their sailing. It is easier to enjoy it when you're having good results, isn't it?
Yeah, it just looks so easy for her just to sail her own race and then enjoy the speed on the water. I actually heard for many kite surfer, kiteboarding or kite foiling, many of them are not really like want to race competitively, but just enjoy the pure speed and acceleration, making the adrenaline super high.
Well, that says a lot for the class. That really says a lot for the class. Oh, we have the 30 knots. We have the. Thank you, Argentina. That says a lot for the sport, that if people are happy just to go training, that's an amazing thing. And
not training, to them it's not training.
Oh, it's all training. You just don't tell the athletes that. A very interesting statistic is when you train, exercises where you learn through play or learn through games are actually far better retained than knowledge done through drills, because of the way which the mind remembers everything. And they will have done enough hours now that they're just sailing on instinct, or what we called in the 90s sailing under flow. But Argentina, I think, is now routinely tickling 30 knots.
Earlier today I also saw a video as I was searching and accumulating some information about the kiteboarding or kite foiling. There's a video about offshore racer Alex Thompson sailing the foiling in Mocha and then kite foiling, and compare the speed.
So that was Hugo Boss?
Yes. Yeah, and then actually it's comparable. It's very similar. Like you think about a Mocha 60 foot long yacht with this tiny little board. Wow, it's amazing to see, like a massive giant boat accompanied by a very small board, and then they are sailing at the same speed, like 30 knots something. Wow.
Well, I think now the foiling cat is out the bag. Nobody's going to put it back in.
Another race win. Oh, carry on. That says a lot about our sport. It's such a variety of different boats and boards to choose from.
So I think we have a quick recap. Now I was struggling to see from this line whether it looked like one of the riders was over. I'm not sure. It must be really one of the key skills to get the time and distance absolutely correct, because if you're on the line and not going fast enough, or you're on the line at the wrong time, or even in the wrong place on the line, it's not a good start. And that's one of the absolutely key skills for all 11 events. But I've got to say, they make the board handling just look easy.
Though we only have 6 riders in the female kites, actually many of them, they are heading to the Olympic Games. So that's why it's a bit too short. Though for this Turkish rider, she chooses to do both the youth events as well as the games. But the majority of them, actually many female kite riders, they are under 18, 19, they could do this event, but just too close to the games.
So do you want to run through the results?
So in the women's kiteboarding race 16, again, Catalina from Argentina won this race, followed by China and Turkey.
And I'm just struggling to see the flags there. We're inside the minute. It looks like they're starting under U flag. And again, it's this time on distance. So we're anticipating a Swiss-Brazilian battle. Is that right?
Yeah. So after the last 16 races, the points between the two riders is only 2.
So it reminds me of the IQ foil, where they are a long way off the line, and it looks like Brazil is going to be the leeward board, just pumping. I assume you call it pumping with the board, pumping the foil. That looked perfect. But it's strange. It does feel like the boards at the top of the picture were more to windward.
So the actual accurate point gap between Brazilians Lucas and Switzerland Zhang is 3, but they each have some big points like 15 DNF, STP standard.
That's a standard penalty.
And DSQ, because as you can see, those kite foiler, they have the long line or rope. Sometimes they get tangled, and then that is over for that race. So that's also why they get an extra discard.
Well, it feels like 4 boards have popped out already. I like the Poland kite because he's got POL on it. That makes it easy for me to identify the rider.
Also now China is leading.
We're just going into attack. It almost looks like a dance as they have the simultaneous attack. In fact, the sail, the kite actually tacks before the sailor, which is exactly the opposite of most dinghy classes. But
I remember back in 2012 when I was doing the London Olympic Games in Weymouth, as we sail in and sail out every day, there are just bunches of kite surfers close to the beach.
That's how I can tell the average wind speed without looking at the anemometer, because the more kites are out, the windier it is, because they just love it. And I do remember we always had trackers at Weymouth, and we actually got the speed limit because I towed you in quite the sea record, because I towed you in quite fast after the race. But let's get back to the race, because the key thing is not that Brazil's in second. The key thing is that you have the Chinese board between Brazil and Switzerland. And I think if I was Brazil, would just be, as much as possible, keeping an eye on the rival. It feels like the leader, France, is just a little bit slower and a little bit lower, getting out of that pressure. In the background, I can't help but notice there appears to be some single-handed dinghies who are almost stopped in relation to the speed of the kites. In fact, when the kites are training, they sometimes use my little Ilka 6 as a wimmer mark, because I go so slowly upwind. It doesn't make a lot of difference when they're rounding me. But positioning here at the first mark, they're going to go even faster downwind, so I'm expecting them to exceed 30 knots at times, and that means the distance between them will open up.
So actually, if Brazilian can win this race or sail ahead or finish ahead of the Switzerland, he will be crowned as the youth champion for this year.
Swiss have overtaken China, so it's all on. We can quite clearly see from there. And I think, what would you do as the leader? I think it's just matching your rival jibe by jibe, isn't it? There's only one rider separating from the fleet now. I think France may be trying just to go a tiny little bit lower.
Actually, for the kite surf or kite foiler, they were so close to get into the Olympics after London. So there were already plans for them to join 2016.
I did see quite a few windsurfers out in kites well before everything went to vote.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that kites made it in. I think it's important to showcase as many aspects of our sport as possible, and we have some wonderful keelboat programs with the World Match Racing Tour, and I think the star class is a good example of a class that used to be Olympic, has continued to go from strength to strength. For the heavier guys, the fin class is still incredibly active. I think they had around 300 sailors at their recent Masters Championships. But back to the action here, and it feels like there's no split. It feels they're all flowing on, and that, considering the speeds they're going, is very, very close.
So they are now over 20 knots.
So just one rider gone off, the rest just hanging on. And I guess if you climb up a little bit and you're close, you can prevent them tacking. But I think that was Brazil also going to the right now. So did he miss the opportunity by letting the Swiss tack off first? The Swiss was the first to the right and does seem to be once again in slightly more pressure. France has gone, but France is the last to go to the right. Looking at the top of the screen, it does feel like there's that little wind bend as well. So we'll see what happens when they come back across. But it must be very hard to get your ley line spot on when you're going at, what, 23, 24 knots on average, if not more.
What's the roads like for those kites? Things apart from we know port tack, keep clear of the starboard tack, and then what about their kite?
Well, I mean, the big thing I would say is that it doesn't matter if you're the right or wrong. If you have a tangle with somebody, that is your race over, and a proper tangle can take a long time to recover from. But the crucial thing is, as it stands now, Swiss is leading, and when they come back across, they're going to be on starboard tack. So that's very basic. That's rule 10. That is very, very basic.
So Swiss is the leeward one to the top of the screen, whereas French is the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, and the key battle between Brazil and Swiss, it's hard to tell. Is he going to tack underneath? It's just going to be meters in it. Oh, my life.
Brazilians tacking underneath Switzerland.
I mean, this is a 3-horse race. If they're safely on the ley line, then that is going to be just meters in it. At the moment,
looks a bit
it looks like Swiss may be able to do the roll, but it's really hard. Wow, it's hard to tell from here.
Oh, they all made it.
I think there's 3-4 meters here. I would expect Brazil to match. France just given a little bit of breathing room. I think I'm right in saying, looking at the bib, France is in bronze, in the red bib, but the battle behind is between Switzerland and Brazil, and they're all doing over 30 knots now.
Yeah. So if Brazilian can finish ahead.
But Brazil, I think, has probably put a jibe in, because we've just seen that speed drop a little bit, and they just pumped the board back up. So Brazil is now back up to 30 knots, well, over 30 knots.
Yeah.
The leader's going to jibe as well. And I can't believe how easy they made the board handling look. I've got to be honest, it wasn't what I was expecting when we looked at the mixed multi-hull, for example. You know, in terms of dinghies, it's a very fast boat, a catamaran, but there's a lot of distance lost on boat handling manoeuvres. But here, I think they're probably dropping from approximately 30 to maybe mid-20s when they put in a manoeuvre downwind, and then they're back again. So you're still looking to minimise the manoeuvres, but that's really close racing. So you can see when Swiss goes as well, then you just have that little drop back. And I think the max I've just seen is Brazil was doing over 36 knots.
36.
So this is just coming up to the finish, and the key situation is Switzerland is in front of Brazil. So am I right, Lily, thinking it needs to go for one more race at least?
Yeah, if Swiss finish ahead of Brazil, yeah.
So this is the leader, France.
Oh.
But
He's
on the reach to
celebrating.
finish. Oh, you've got to celebrate every event. Oh wow, no, that's just showing off, isn't
Show
it?
off. Yeah.
You've got to celebrate every win. Yeah. Swiss second, Brazil third. And it does feel like those three riders were a little bit clear of the chasing pack. So that must make the points even tighter. And I think we talk a lot about momentum, because confidence builds confidence. And sometimes just when you're having a good day at the office, things click and you keep on getting it right. So let's have a recap. So top, or I should say, bottom of screen now was the Brazilian, and he just had to body pump up a little bit to clear the pin. Now after that he was in good shape, but that lay line was just so important, and it feels like it's tacking on the whistle. Yeah, synchronized. Yeah, and that's something which we will practice a lot, these drills. But they were swapping places all the time, and it's just amazing how close they get. And it'll be interesting to see where the Swiss did that manoeuvre, that overtaking manoeuvre. I suspect the mistake was if Brazil jibed off too early, but it's really close. The key thing here is just making sure they stay in the pressure, and then they're doing over 30 knots downwind. I do wonder how they talk to their coaches. I have to ask somebody how they do that quickly.
Yeah, I remember seeing them launching and the recovery. Wow, that's a lot of work, and then teamwork as well. They want to keep the kite away from the water.
They want to keep the kite dry. Here's the results.
Yeah.
I'll let you go for it.
Men's kiteboarding race 17, won by French now. Second in this race is Switzerland Jon Emmett, and the current overall leader Brazilian finished third in this race.
And I'll say for your better, I said the Chinese sailor, very consistent.
Tian Jiayi always finishing fourth. So the game's still on until the very last race. And the gap between the Brazilian and the Swiss is only 1 point.
So we've talked a lot about the 2024 Sailing World Championships for the under-19 sailors being very much like a rather large regatta happening in Marseille shortly. That is the Olympic Games, and it's the ability to perform under pressure. So I can guarantee that the Swiss and Brazilian sailor are going to remember this next race for the rest of their careers. Who's going to perform under pressure the best? We've got probably a short break while we look at the women's start, and they're going to be analysing what went well, what went wrong, and probably looking at the women's start to see if there's any change across the course. I do get the feeling the Argentinian board is higher and faster, but as you said, she's going to want to win every single race.
Yeah.
And when you're a bit in front of your competition, who are you in competition with? You're in competition with yourself.
Final 10 seconds to the start.
Let's see if we can spot a yellow bib. I expect to see them starting to bounce to get up to full speed.
2,
Fleet
1.
seems a little bit line shy, and they're off.
Looks like a clean start.
Absolutely. I'm interested to know why there's two kites there, which are slightly different. I don't know whether that's associated with the gear problems or changing the kite. The Argentinian youth woman is coming out of the centre of the line. Nice conservative start. First to hit line, and just making it hard on her rivals. It doesn't matter what event you're in. If you're higher and faster upwind, it makes it very hard to compete with.
I know we both don't kite, but what would you say is the shadows, like the dirty wind or whatever, for those kites?
Well, they're very much apparent wind sailing, so they're generating their own wind go, and that's why they're going faster than the wind speed. And you say I don't kite, but I think, you know, I can get all my equipment in a 23 kilo luggage.
Yeah.
Maybe it will be a good thing to take when I go coaching at windy venues. Certainly the skills they have here are really transferable, and if you're going to go to do any type of high speed sailing in a boat, I'm sure for these sailors it must seem much more manageable and much less of a transition than somebody who's transitioning from, say, an Ilka or a 420. But if you look at them now,
the leader Argentina is going to
they've got to tack. It's getting a bit soft as they're getting really close to line. It's getting softer and softer, and you know, first to lead out from that shore, you can see the board slightly further out, just in a little bit more pressure, and now they're off. And the key thing when it's like this, you want to make sure that you tack early, because as soon as you run out of pressure, that speed difference, it means that it's harder to do the maneuver, because it's about keeping your average speed as high as you possibly can. And Argentina doing a really nice job. I wonder if just going slightly lower and slightly faster just to get the first to that next shift leading across, and just you can see why they have such strong legs from holding that position, like a semi-squat position for the entire race. And I think probably the harder you push, the faster you go. I'll be interested to see if on a strong wind day they can go to the gym as well, because it's looking...
You mean after their sailing?
Yes.
Yeah. It just looks like Argentina has a pure speed advantage in every single tack, every single leg, and just sail her own race. I remember...
Oh, we've got a port starboard coming. Oh, no, and they tack underneath. So just looking here, sorry to interrupt, Lily, it's very difficult for us sometimes to call the ley lines.
Yeah.
So did the third board get under the ley line? Because it feels they can pump up, but obviously like a dinghy pinching, they do lose a bit of speed, and it feels like China now opened up a little bit more of a gap there by getting the ley line a little bit better. And I think we're probably going to see them jibing out before they get to that area of light wind again.
I remember, John, when you were coaching me, that you even told me, even if when I'm winning the race, I would still need to keep pushing myself, extend the lead and make it so insurmountable to the rivals, and then gradually giving myself more confidence, also giving them the information that in which wind conditions are just impossible to beat.
So Turkey put the jibe in first, and I see them really narrowing the gap as they get into that pressure much quicker. Argentina was quite conservative and just jibe for jibe, and I think this lead is only going to be extended. The difficulty obviously is, as the lead boat, you're the one who has to call the ley lines, but very much pressure sailing, and that's good. I'm glad that you remember that, because one of the things is having a large lead. It's not only fantastic for your confidence, because it means you know you can perform in your fasting conditions. It's actually hard, if you like, for your rivals' confidence, because they know you're going to be hard to beat. And that's why I would never encourage people to sit up, and especially in the dinghies classes where we have the medal race format and that shorter race, you cannot sit up for a moment. Just amazing mark rounding there that make it look so simple. You see the kite is now coming down into the new angle, and they're pushing harder, and I suspect that Argentina will open up a little bit more of a lead here. They're not doing many maneuvers each leg, so it becomes even more important to choose exactly where you go. It feels like second, third have really closed up, and I think they're going to be having a, can we say, a match race? I think it will be tack for tack, because they're very clear now of the chasing pack. It looks to me like China's going a little bit higher and a little bit slower, and just by positioning yourself between your rival and the next boy, it makes it almost impossible to overtake.
Actually, that's a good tactical point, isn't it, for the Chinese to position herself a little bit higher in between the leader and the one behind her.
Well, also to a certain extent, it means you're protecting that right hand side. I mean, I think the course is a lot more even than perhaps we would expect. Today it just feels a little bit hazy and a little bit cooler, and I am concerned that the oral breeze will die off before 4 o'clock, but I'm pretty sure the closing ceremony and prize giving starts about 5:30, so maybe we don't have to worry about that. Just a shout out to any of the sailors who are watching this. You are going to remember this championships for the rest of your life, and please do come to the closing ceremony. There's going to be a big party afterwards. I won't go into it now, but there's lots of entertainment going on, and you'll be very, very sad if you missed it. But back to the action. We have Argentina, who is already the champion, seeing if she can win by over 200 metres. This speed probably in the region of 25 knots. That gap is going to open up when she hits 30 on the final downhill.
And I will also say a big thank you to the race committee team, because this morning, like the sailors, coaches alike, they're trying to get this northerly wind, get up at before 6, launching at 7, racing at 8, and after the northerly wind died, they come back ashore, have a little break, and then the race committee immediately issued another change of the schedule. So all the fleets, all the classes events are heading out to finish their unfinished matter. So hopefully for this event we can finish all the races scheduled or planned.
And let's look at the mark rounding, and just it's warp factor 9 as they start progressing downwind, and expect that distance to really, really open up.
It feels the wind in their course area is better than where we are now.
So I think Marchisny often has the better northerly first thing in the morning. What we've got now with this southerly breeze is it's quite patchy. And I think they need to be careful that it was so unfortunate for the 29ers yesterday that the two-person skiff, they had a race abandoned just minutes away from the finish. So I think that the race team will have that very much in mind. Obviously, the more races they do, more good races, the fairer the result. And I'm really looking forward to the men's competition in a minute, because it's going to be so close. But yeah, they've got every time they can get a race in, they've got it. I saw some of the single-handed sailors when they came in after racing in the northerly were playing table football in their wetsuits with the rig still up, because they knew as soon as the wind appeared they were straight back out. So yeah, it was an 8 a.m. start for over 50% of the fleet.
And then in this afternoon, once the wind changed from the northerly to the southerly, all the fleets going out again.
But the race tactics, I think, in a way, is probably similar. So in the northerly breeze, again, depending on your race course, but it's probably going to be a case of going left, heading for the high land, because it's so high here. We have mountains over 3,000 metres, and that wind bend and that pressure will make the difference whatever event you're sailing. Whereas now in the Aura, specifically in some tracks more than others, but the right hand side to get close, and it's a really deep lake. I mean, the average depth here is about 150 metres, so we've got cold water, glorious hot sunshine, and a really good thermal effect, almost
That's
guaranteed
heading to
every
the
day.
finish now. Another race win for the Argentinian.
Well, I would have thought her goal today is very simple. It's to win every single race.
Yeah.
And just to work on the things that could be a little bit better. People think that people suddenly become good. It's not that. It's a combination of marginal gains. And there's a difference between knowledge and experience. I mean, the joke is that knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit, but the experience is knowing you don't put tomatoes in a fruit salad. Now, it's really important that the sailors can take the knowledge that they gain from this venue, keep a logbook, discuss, because they're going to be doing other major championships. So this is the 2024 Youth Sailing World Championships on Lake Garda, and this is a recap of the Women's Kites Race 17, the penultimate race, I believe.
Yeah, so this is the very second last race of the fleet, and actually before today's racing, the Argentinians already secured her first ever youth title, and she still plans to win, aims to win every single race. 4 races are scheduled today. We've already done 3, 1 more to go.
And you asked me about kiting, but I am tempted. I am tempted to have a go at winging. I think that looks a good. How should we put it? A good first step in foiling, because I'm going to get speed jealousy. Just looking at how fast they go and how easy they make, I realise it's really not that easy. And actually, even launching here, it's not as easy as you would expect, because normally this is a beach class launching off the beach, and for them to.
Women's kiteboarding race 17, again won by Argentina's Catalina, followed by Chinese Tian Jiayi, and then Turkish third.
So it feels the Chinese has been consistent in the youth women's as well.
For the female, it's so let's look at the current ranking for the men's kiteboarding before the final race. Brazilian's Lucas sitting in the first overall on 19 points.
He must be feeling the pressure.
Yeah, and then following him is Jen from Switzerland.
So actually, he just needs to finish within a certain number of points of the rival. And I wonder if we're going to see a bit of pressure put on, a bit like a match race. So let's look for the blue bib and the yellow bib. The men's fleet now full speed. You can see the fleet was pretty well spread out. It'd be interesting to see whether they're trying to stay together or give each other a hard time. I think the Swiss board just needs to serve their own race and go for a win, and the Brazil just stay close to the rivals.
If it's 3 point gap, the Brazilian has already won this event.
What's the worst? What's the discard
his
now?
worst is third, so 3 points gap. He's already won.
Well, it would go down to the most first procedures if they end up tied on points. So potentially they're both on 23 points. Oh no, yes. So congratulations to Brazil. John's maths a little slow there. Just to show this is absolutely recorded live. But just like Argentina, I suspect they all want to win every single race. Maybe it's actually harder psychologically if you know that you've won to put in that 100% effort, because we've got the blue bib, we've got the red bib. Everyone tracking out to that right hand side of the course now.
So the Brazilian can have a more relaxing time, just sail his own race.
Well, it looks like he's down in 9th or 10th at the moment, starting towards the pin with a right hand track. I like the Polish kite because I can always identify that one. Not in the medal hunt, I don't believe. But yeah, when we look at the overall, Swiss is within striking distance of the lead. And I think we've got this drag race now out on port, and you can just see the angle of the board to windward. They are pressing and pressing and pressing, and it feels in the games the average size of the athlete, it's only gone up. I think probably it's just the mixed 470 where the helm is a lightweight person. So sailing, it really is a sport, and the physical side just gets more and more. But it was also interesting, you said a lot of people will go kite surfing, which is a growing sport worldwide, just for fun, just for the sheer pleasure of going fast, being on the water. And I guess by definition, if you go to windy venues, they tend to be beautiful like Garda, and that's why they have the thermal breezes. But focusing on now on Brazil, and it looks like he's just got rolled.
Oh, so close.
This is possibly a race Brazil will want to forget. So Swiss as well appears to have dropped. You could just see the differences in speed with a tiny bit of pressure. It almost reminds me of a video game when they get into the pressure and do that huge accelerate. And here we're going to go from 25 to over 30 knots as they go downwind. And some of those sailors are meters away from each other. Put that into context, just how fast that is. So 30 knots, 60 kilometers an hour?
Such a high level of competition. Everyone's so close to each other. And then, yeah, the Brazilian getting the 4th overall in last year's home youth worlds.
And I think we've talked about this before. I mean, it's nice to sail at home because you have that experience, especially as a young sailor, that it's somewhere that you feel comfortable with. You speak the language. You've probably sailed at the venue a lot of times. But you do have that pressure. And while we've got these individual events competition going on, we do have the Nations Cup. And I think it's neck and neck between Italy and France.
Yeah, so France is the most successful nation in the Youth World Championship, winning 11 times the Nations Trophy, followed by Britain, Italy, the Netherlands.
Can you see Swiss?
Yeah, not on the tracker.
Okay, I'm looking for the Swiss board. I wonder if I missed something there. I've got to say, I do love this racing. It's so fast and furious. It's quite hard to keep track on. And one thing they will do for the 2028 Olympics is we're going to have national flag kites, and I think that will make it so much easier to see who's
that would be
leading.
great.
Just
that would
amazing.
Be great.
It's one of the things I love about the 49er and
Yeah.
the FX kite and the NACRA Cup when they have those national flags. And
On
if
the
you're not
spinnaker.
sure who's winning, when the spinnaker goes up and the flag comes out, you know for sure. Here, Poland's making it very easy for me, because I can tell. And this may well be a kite which was designed for the Olympic Games, I don't know. But good positioning there, making it very hard
Poland.
for the rivals to get through. Just coming out, good mark roundings. It doesn't matter what event you're in, a good mark rounding is such an important skill.
Poland still trying to. He's actually already
France,
secured in the 5th place overall.
France seems to be making progress to leeward. Now they've put in attack. Probably Poland is going to go. But if France can gap off enough, when they tap back, they'll be on starboard and they'll be the right-of-way board. So this is a really crucial next tack, and they could end up just metres apart. And I was always worried when it became a sport that we were going to see lots of tangles, but somehow the level is so high, we just don't seem to have that. Yeah. But it does make me nervous when they're this close together.
Brazilian back to the leading position again.
Well, I think he probably managed just to tack off and get into that pressure first. It's always hard to tell the angle, so the crucial thing will be when they next come together, because that ley line will be the difference between first, second and third.
Yeah, so the Brazilians already secured the title for this championship, and that is also the truth for Switzerland, which we seems to be missing him.
Yeah, I don't know if
race.
Swiss retired or something happened. I was trying to keep an eye on 3 boards simultaneously, and I lost one. I just have to put my coach's hat on and say that's why, you know, at the games it's so important. But there's 3 riders now within a matter of metres, and I'm not sure whether we can believe the tracker or just look with our own eyes, but the windward board seems to have the optimum angle. The leeward board is going to be able to stay there. And it says now that the Swiss is leading.
Probably the tracker. Yeah, the blue bib. He is leading.
Yes. Wow. We didn't lose him.
And then followed by Polish and then French. French is actually...
Brazil would therefore be in 4th just behind those 3 boards. So maybe the Swiss's tracker got tired.
Oh, yeah. The French has also secured the bronze medal position for this championship.
So they're racing for honour or whatever, racing for glory now. The Swiss sailor will probably look back about what could have been, but just an amazing effort. And, you know, these young guys, they are absolutely the future of our sport, and up and down sailing clubs, beach clubs. I just would really encourage you to encourage the young sailors you have, because they are absolutely the future of our sport. And sailing, it's not a sport for everyone, but it is a sport for anyone.
Yeah. For the kiteboarding, it took them such a long time to make it to the Olympic sport. Started right after London 2020.
So Brazil going low.
Trying to find a gap to squeeze in.
So I think we're going to see a simultaneous 3-board jibe. Brazil working their way down low, but there's just meters to the finish.
So some of the riders, they even have a head cam on their helmet. Those footages, wow, super exciting as well. Ooh, that's a nice flip of the handle. So towards the finish line, it looks like Switzerland leading, followed by Polish and French.
So going to be mixed emotions there. Oh, well, were you scared?
Well, I don't know whether I would touch the draw if I was there.
We're going to go and count our number of cameraman in a minute.
Well, such an exciting race, and then competition is just so close.
And what's worth mentioning is, and I know it sounds odd, but that is 1 point after 18 races.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of discards, because I wouldn't want this competition to be decided by somebody who unfortunately had a tangle or had a gear failure or a single OCS or UFD or black flag. And you can see them coming in. Oh, look, there's a few moths getting ready. Must be good foiling conditions. And they make that recovery look so easily.
Yeah. Have a look how they recover.
So if you go back over the social media feed we've done over the past few days, when we had very light winds, I came up to the kite boat park trying to find them, and I think they were all hiding from me in coffee shops. But this is the race recap, and it does feel like people have their favourite starting position. It's very much a time on distance. Poland probably hit the line best, and from there we can see that a clean start and a clear lane, whatever event you're in, it just makes it easy. We actually lost the switch sailor on the tracker, so sorry for the earlier commentary. We were looking to find them.
Actually, he was leading quite a lot of time, mainly by the Polish, and then followed. Yeah.
So these mark roundings is obviously where boats or boards come together, and that's a key opportunity to overtake, and getting those ley lines right is very important.
This is the final leg before the finish. After rounding the mark, reaching to finish. The second overall, Switzerland finish the first in this race and winning silver in this championship. So men's kiteboarding race 18, Swiss Jen finished first, followed by Poland Petrol, and then French now in third.
And the Chinese sailor got beaten by the Brazilians, so his string of fourths ends. But I think it's just such good practice for the young sailors to be here. We're now going to be going on to the final race for women, which is the final race on this course, the final race for kites. And at the moment we have 1 minute to go, but it's probably the final 15 seconds which are crucial. So we'll see if we can spot how. There she is, the Argentinian, how she does her start line approach. And this is going to be one of the key things she's thinking about for Paris 2024. For those of you just joining us, we're in starting sequence. My name's John, I'm joined by Lily, and this is the 2024 Youth Sailing World Championships at Lake Garda.
So final countdown, 30 seconds countdown to the final race of this championship for female kite. 20 seconds.
So we're up here in Mount
riders.
Chisney. If you are looking downwind, you can actually see a lot of other classes actively racing. In the background, the women's fleet just looking a little bit line shy compared to the men's. Just 6 riders here. Last few seconds, and you can just see Argentina exploding out of the line there. So it's quite close now, but just boat speed, it makes you a tactical genius. If you could be higher and faster, and that's something you need to work on. So, you know, for young sailors, I think it's always tempting to do regatta after regatta. I mean, particularly the Ilka class has fantastic Europa Cup series, and all you could race every day of the year somewhere nearly, but the mileage, the thing that earns you your Olympic medal, is the hard training, and that's the boat speed work. And Garda, it's a paradise for getting that work done. Tell us a little bit, Lily, about your downwind work here, because that's one of the things that Garda's famous for.
Garda, yeah. So because it's very much of the tradition here in Garda, in the morning you will have the northerly wind, so you can sail out from north to south, and then somewhere in the middle, because there are plenty of clubs along each side, and you find a suitable club. And for lunch, yeah, and then have a little bit rest, waiting for the wind to pick up again. Though now switch the 180 degree to the southerly wind, and then you have a lovely time of training sailing downwind all day. Compared with other places, you need to tow. Wow, towing experience is not very pleasant.
Yeah. So we had dinner last night with a Hong Kong team, and that's exactly what they're
doing now.
I was going to say Laser 4.7, that's what their Ilka 4 sail was doing. So it wasn't a fantastic start from Argentina, but already grabbed the lead, and I think just that board speed there is absolutely spot on. And it will give confidence, having won the championships, heading to Marseille. Although the conditions will be very different. This is one of the things with our sport Garda. We have a flat water, a short chop. Last Olympic Games, we had an ocean swell. We're probably going to be looking at Marseille, very similar, sometimes the waves to Hier. So we have a more medium length lay, and that's why my top tip is to spend as much time as you can practicing at the key venues, and that's why a lot of the sailors who had the opportunity would have been here practicing on Lake Garda weeks and weeks beforehand. For those just joining us, this is the afternoon Aura Breeze, and it's a afternoon start for the kites, but many of the classes were racing first thing this morning, 8 a.m. starts, just to try and squeeze a few more races in before the sun came out, the northerly wind died, spot of lunch, and here we are again.
Yeah. So also something a bit different from this championship to the Olympics. Normally at other events we'll have a medal series. So the top 10 rider will enter in this medal series. Another complicated system. We'll leave it to another time to explain. But for this Youth World Championship, it's just normal races. I think it's good for all the youth sailors. They can carry on to sail all the races instead of just the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my heart is always very much with the sailor, and I just want the person who sailed the best all week to win. I mean, it can be heartbreaking if you have 4 days of light winds and dominate a regatta and then have a difficult medal race because it's very windy and somebody else wins, or vice versa. Sailing, I feel, you need to be a jack of all trades. Everybody remembers Qingdao, where everyone thought it was going to be like all week, and the 49er medal race was decided on who could stay upright on the downwind. We got a little bit of background noise going on, so it looks like the IQ foil are getting ready. That's the men's and the women's windsurfer, and we will try and have a look at the points of that. Today is the final day, so I really hope everyone's enjoyed the content. If you have, drop us a like. It's always really appreciated.
So yeah, as we see those windsurfer coming back, they were both won by the Italian.
So that's going to make a difference on the Nations Cup,
Nations Trophy, yeah.
So we're here with the kite surfers. I think we all know that Argentina's going to have it in the bag unless something happens. But it's just beautiful to watch. She nearly hit 30 knots, and just look at this mark rounding. For me, the thing is how beautifully the kite moves from one side to another, and you'll see that this is something they've obviously practiced a huge amount. Second place coming round now, China. You see the kite drop down and the movement is going in. So there's some very happy Italian people in the background. I'm not sure if you can pick up this microphone, but pick it up on the microphone. But let's follow the Argentinian boy. And just a big thank you to the media team for this amazing footage, something which wouldn't have been possible even a few years ago. And you have to remember, we are doing over 20 knots with the rider. This is literally the foil in the water. The whole board is above the water, and that's why it is the fastest sport at the Summer Olympic Games.
I wonder what's the next fastest sport? Would that be windsurfing, Formula Kite? No, sorry, the IQ foil.
I would have no idea, but I know there's a few people who've gone from IQ foil
just trying to imagine, would that be the track cycling? Because
I have no idea. I don't even know how fast horses run, to be honest. But I think there's a few people who've gone from the IQ foil to kite surfing because they're just addicted to the speed. And I would say to those recreational kite surfers who just love kiting, come and do some racing with us.
Yeah.
Come and do some racing, and you might like it even more. I still race myself. I think as a coach it really helps me understand that not only the rig setup but what the psychology is for the sailor. And I just love the racing because it's by pushing yourself and having that quantitative result you can see how well you're doing. And I'm sure with this tracking the sailors will sit down with their coach and they will analyse every single race. So I think Argentina, they've ticked the box. They will have got minimum points today, but any possible improvement, those marginal gains will make the difference. And the sailors you see here are no doubt the sailors you're going to be seeing in 2028 and beyond.
Yeah. Just to give you an update for the other classes, there's still a few events going on, and the race committee actually, in order to make all the races happening, they're transferring the double two-person dinghy and the skiff by rib instead of coming ashore and then change to the boats, and then they're sending the sailors out by ribs.
Okay, so I'll just explain that. So in terms of the equipment for the 29er class and the 420 class, we're very grateful for the equipment sponsor. So there's actually one boat shared between the female and the mixed male. So there's only one boat, so normally they would sail in, the crews would change over, sail out again. We have a cut-off time for racing today, so they've transferred the sailors by rib just to squeeze as many races in as possible. Now, how good is that?
I wonder whether Italy is closer to raise this nation's trophy, apart from two windsurfing first finishes. They also add another gold in the male and mixed two-person dinghy. So Italy's Lisa and Vittorio won race 9, the final race, and ultimately win this championship again. So that's another first.
That's news just in. For those joining us, we're live, race 18, final race of the kites. Argentina looking absolutely commanding here. And you can just see the rib in the background, how hard it has to work just to keep up. So it's a real step in Olympic sailing. We're so glad the kites are joining us, and they will be the fastest sport in the Summer Olympics. It's a small group of female sailors. It's quite hard actually to get to the point that you're able to race competitively, and also they're going to be changing the equipment to make it more accessible to the lighter youth women. But Argentina will be going to the Olympic Games. I think you said flying tonight.
It's Turkish going to the Olympics.
Turkish going to the Olympic Games will be flying tonight as we come across the reach to the finish. And it's the race, it almost feels like it's over before it begins. In fact, I'm pretty sure she's lining up for
the harbour.
For perfect recovery on the harbour. Just perfectly lined up.
So close to the cloud.
Is that why they're jumping over the rib?
Ooh.
There's an air punch there. She knows she's done it.
Congratulations to Argentinian Maria Catalina Turenzo, only 18 years old. already having youth world champion, European champion on the 19 and South American champion under her belt.
Well, they say winning is a habit.
Ooh.
Winning is a habit. What you practice becomes permanent. Let's just have a quick recap. So not the best start for Argentina, but she had the pace and just sailed through her rivals. From there, didn't look back.
And I would feel for those kite rider, the difference in angle and speed is bigger than our boats and windsurfers. Like when you look at the start, they're more or less at the same line. And then not long afterwards, they started to stretch out and you can see some speeds faster and angles smaller.
Well, I think when you go that fast, a small percentage difference in speed actually ends up being a lot of distance. So if you're going at 5 knots and you're 1% faster than somebody, that's race winning, but you won't notice it as much as if you're going 25 knots. 1% faster, that ends up a lot of meters very, very quickly. One of the things I love about sailing is we just have really close racing. It's not just the physical aspect of the sport. You've got the technical aspect and the race-to-race strategy, and wow, that looks like a collision course for the rib every single day. That's why we're getting those beautiful shots coming off the team, and yeah, it's a very photogenic sport, isn't it?
Yeah.
So here we come with the final results.
So in the women's kiteboarding race 18, which is the final race, again won by Argentina's Catalina, followed by Chinese Xiao Mengjing, and then Turkish Daring, who were heading straight to Marseille for her very first Olympic Games.
Wow, if she's watching on replay, very best of luck and enjoy every experience. So I think we're just going to have a quick look at the rankings because it's getting super, super close. It's going to be hard getting everything done for prize giving. So quick ad and we'll come back with some results for you. Wow, what a week. I mean, it's really hard to believe this is the fifth and final day of the 2024 Youth World Sailing Championships here at stunning Lake Garda. I mean, there's so much action going on. There's a bit of nail biting here that it's really hard to cover all the classes. The final race, I think, of the Ilka 6 men, it's going to be down to the wire. There's another Italian sailor in the hunt, so we're going to see how that goes. But I think first we can go back and look at all the action we had from the kites, and I don't know about you, Lee, that's the fastest type of sailing I've ever tried to commentate on. Well, we have some very, very happy sailors there, very happy young sailors. And I have to say, the kites, it is dominated by the young sailors. I think actually the top under-19 youth from Brazil is at the Olympic Games. So it just shows how dominant some of the South American countries are. I don't know if you can see, looking behind us, it's just starting to get a little bit darker. I really hope there isn't any rain because that kills the aura dead. So we're looking forward to some exciting finishes. But we're trying to get the results ready for you, and we can see how that leaves the overall standings.
So the current overall standing for men's kiteboarding is the final result of this Youth World Championship. Our winner in the men's kiteboarding is Brazilian Lucas, followed by Switzerland Jan winning a silver medal, and the bronze medal is French Nel de Jehan.
Just 1 point between them after 18 races. That's pretty amazing. And yeah, I think that competition, that rivalry may well carry on into senior fleet.
And then let's have a look of the women's kiteboarding. The final result is Catalina from Argentina won this Youth World Championship, followed by Xiao Mengjing from China, and then bronze medal is daring from Turkey.
So another very strong South American performance, but Argentina absolutely dominant with a huge number of race wins over those 18 races. So they're now onshore, packing up, trying to get everything in the tent before it rains. So I think that's that done and dusted, but there's still racing going on behind us. And as I said, this is not only individual event, we've got 11 events, but it's also the Nations Trophy. And at the moment, I think the favourites, it's between Italy and France. So let's have a look at another one of the events. We have the windsurfers, which are also foiling. That's the IQ foil.
So home favourite Federico from Italy won men's windsurfing in this championship. Silver medalist Agro from Poland, and bronze medal is won by Makani from the United States of America.
So just the results never tell the full story, but that looks a commanding lead by the young Italian sailor, and that's a name to look for in the future.
46 points. And another Italian win, Carola from Italy won women's windsurfing. Silver medalist Darcy Sean from Great Britain and Sofia from Finland got a bronze medal. Congratulations to all those young sailors.
And I think for Italy, that takes them one step closer to the Nations Cup, which I'm sure they will be especially pleased to win if they're winning it on home soil. We've talked about it before. It is an advantage looking at sailing in a place where you're familiar, but I'm sure they will have that pressure that they really, really want to do their best with everyone watching them. Another class where we've been looking at Italy closely was the mixed multi-hull, which is the NACRA 15 class.
Yeah.
And I believe that's already been decided.
They've finished the racing earlier this morning. So Italy's Serena and Desi won the mixed multi-hull NACRA 15. Silver medal is Vic and Molinero from France, and bronze medal is Borhe. Oh, that's a family business.
I'm looking at this name, and I'm looking at this Belgium name, and I know the youth head coach quite well. I wonder if they're going to be a brother and sister team, or at least related. But I have to say, just news in, that's another win for Italy. I think I've got this right in the Ilka 6 men's. That's just been won by Italy as well. So breaking news.
Wow. So, but just looking at this Belgium pair, it's very much a family business, because apart from this, brothers and sisters in the NACRA 15, another of their siblings are competing the NACRA 17s and heading to the Paris Olympic Games. Wow.
They say sailing is a sport for all the family. I do wonder if one or both of the parents used to sail catarans, but I don't know. I have to check that out. But what I would say is that succession, it's so important. So it doesn't have to be your older brother or whatever who's teaching you. You know, when you go back, and I'm talking to the youth sailors doing this event, when you go back to your home club, try and pass not only that enthusiasm on, but the technical aspect of the sport, because looking back over the Olympic Games, every cycle the standard just gets higher and higher and higher, and we are so lucky that sailing really is a sport for life. So what's next? It'll be the two-person dinghy. Two-person dinghy, so that's the 420, the little sister of the 470, who will be raced in Paris, and it's another Italian victory.
Wow. So Italy won the men's and mixed two-person dinghy with only 23 points, followed by France pair, 37 points, and bronze is won by the Spanish, 47 points.
That is looking pretty good so far for the for the Italians today. Yeah. It's never over till it's over. The next rankings we actually saw decided yesterday, didn't we, Lily?
Yeah. So women's two-person dinghy is won by the Greek pair with only 12 points, and following them is the Germany, 43 points, and the bronze is won by Turkish pair. 40. Oh, that's only 1 point. And then Spanish just missing out with equal points, which is a little bit pity.
Well, 3rd to 8th is incredibly tight, just 5 points with 3rd to 8th. And personally, I've been on both sides of points difference like that. It's worth saying, I can't remember if it's the team or just the helm, but I think the final year. So in youth sailing, so we really hope to see them getting involved with the 470. I think there's something very special about the traditional boat, the traditional spinnaker, and the 420 class has done a great job. They've even got their own class coach here to help improve it. We also have another 2-person boat. We have the 2-person skiff, which is the 29er. That is the little sister of the 49er. So we can bring you the results from the youth women, which are on screen now, but the youth men are still racing.
Yeah. So in the women's skiff 29er, the winner is from Poland with 57 points. Silver medal is won by Finnish, 84 points, whereas bronze is won by the United States of USA, 92 points. Congratulations.
We watched that racing yesterday, and Finland were doing a really good job and very happy. It's funny when you get your groove in the conditions that it's just easy to get locked in. And I say to anyone who's going home now, if they're a little bit disappointed with the results, just take it as a truly remarkable learning experience, and just being here is an absolute privilege.
Okay, and then for the men's and mixed skiff, they have one more race to go, but the current ranking is another Poland winner.
This is tied on points, Lily. Forget about the net points. The total points is tied, and they have a huge gap between them and 3rd. So
they're secured.
Is there going to be a match race? I don't know. Without looking at the total points, it's hard.
So you can have a look of the live tracker to see how they're doing. So the 3rd, currently ranked number 3rd, is from France, 82 points.
So I'm looking over my shoulder. I can see the spinnakers coming downwind, and I'm trying to remember what colour Poland was and what colour GBR was. But we won't try and get too deeply into that. But whether you win by an inch or a mile, a win's a win. So wishing those sailors the very best of luck.
Yeah. So for those who just joined in, you are watching the 2024 Youth Sailing World Championship live here in Lake Garda.
I'm Jon Emmett.
I'm Lily Shilija from China, and we are very happy to bring you all the action here in Garda.
We're both from what was the laser, now the Ilka class, so that's where we're going to head to now. We've got some of the action, and I think I've got the standings right in my head, but we will see. So super close racing this morning in the men's between Dutch and Italian. Let's take a look. I just absolutely love those overhead shots, and the Ilka, in this case the Ilka 6, it may be very slow, but wow, the racing is just so tight, it's unbelievable, and that's reflected in the rankings. And in terms of boat speed, every meter counts, and every little technical thing just makes a huge difference. And when we look at the points, so here we go.
So in the female dinghy Ilka 6, the current ranking is Italy's Maria winning with 33 points.
There may still be one race to go. I'm not sure.
Yeah, depending on what her worst results. And then standing in the second position is Hamini from Greek and Alina from Ukraine.
Yeah, so that looks like there's a little gap between the top three, and that would just be a case of where they're standing on the podium. The conditions now, I dare say, I'm in a t-shirt. It feels like it's cooling off, so that's going to make the breeze really hard to read if they're going to have one more race. In the men's category, we're going to get to the points in a minute, but it was super tight between Italian and the Dutch, and if you look at Antonio, he had a very difficult first race, a whole series of top scores, but he had another 36 that he has to count in his series. But look at the net points, Lily. This is a high-scoring regatta.
It's always the case in the ILCA 6 men's or ILCA 7 at the Olympics. So the current ranking for male dinghy ILCA 6 is Italy and Dutch are tied in points, 56. It all down to the final race, and because they all have big results, big points, so they have to finish the final race. May well be a match racing. And standing in third position is Danish Mats, 80 points.
But actually, 3, 4, 5, they are super close.
Yeah. So Waka from Thailand, someone that I would like to mention, is the ILCA 4 world champion last year. So just another step up into the ILCA 6, though a bit light, but he must be super good in those light conditions. And also he won the Asia Games last year in Hangzhou, China. Another good sailor to keep an eye for in future.
Well, it's a nice big sailing family, isn't it? You know, sailing, it's a sport for life, and there's one of the beauties of the ILCA that you can go from the 4 to the 6 to the 7, and you know, you see top ILCA sailors, whatever class they go into after in terms of professional sailing, they just perform, you know.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, that is just about it. I think we just have to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, finally, we would like to thank our title sponsor, Trentino, where this North Lake Garda is belonging to in terms of region, a beautiful place. I couldn't have recommended more for a holiday or for sporting adventure, like sailing, climbing, and cycling. It's just a paradise. And equally, we would like to give thanks to the event organizer, World Sailing and FIV, which is the Italian Sailing Federation. Thanks for such a warm hosting for the whole event, as well as 6 clubs. It is the first time 6 clubs coordinate together, co-host this huge event. It's like an Olympics. 1 for each event, 1 representative for each event, but 11 events. 6 classes all happening at the same time in Lake Garda. Last but not least, we would also like to thank our media production team, a very innovative team, our media. Well, this is the image I've never seen before. Started by a group of kite surfer, windsurfer, and then they know what our sports needed for. So bringing those stunning footage, which really I've never seen before. Like, we avoid those helicopters noise and the turbulence of the air, of the wing, and then by just flying those drones close enough to the sailors. And this is the very first ever Youth World Championships that are going live every single day. Thank you very much.
And for me, I want to thank the race officials. I want to thank the coaches. And a very special thank you for the sailors for keeping us so entertained for the past few days. I'm sorry I have to fly home tomorrow, and I just wish you all the very, very best for future. And now, though, I will see you soon. For myself, John.
I'm Lily, but probably you would like to announce something about next year.
Okay, so I was just going to say that we will be moving next year to Portugal, to Vila Moura. So in around 18 months, we have a fantastic event around the corner. Some of the sailors here may well be there. Some may already have moved to Olympic classes. But from John and Lily, thank you so much for having us. If you've enjoyed the content, please tell your friends, wherever you are, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun.
Enjoy. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.